Hello and welcome to Fearless DIY Music. My name is Tristan Lass, and today I'd like to talk about ski jumps. Ski jumps on guitars are when your fretboard has a little jump at the end. Let's grab our little example here. So let's pretend like this is your guitar neck, and when you're playing and you have your action properly set, you're getting a lot of buzzing and nastiness down here coming from these frets, because the fingerboard or the entire neck itself has a slight bend to it, or the frets are too high, that causes the strings to bottom out on them when you're fretting and playing normally on the rest of the neck. So ski jumps are most commonly found on vintage acoustic guitars or inexpensive acoustic guitars, where sometimes the fretboard itself will delaminate from the neck and lift up a little bit, and that can cause the ski jump problem. Another thing that can happen is just over time, the neck joint, if it needs a neck reset, will present itself as a ski jump. And sometimes it is just due to, the entire neck kind of coming loose from the guitar, which can also cause the ski jump. Sometimes on an electric guitar neck, if they're improperly shimmed up like that, ski jumps can form over time because of the pressure of the screws going into the neck and then warping because of the shim here and no shim support on this part, can also cause a ski jump, warping the neck up like that. If you have a ski jump issue on one of your guitars, this video is for you. I'm going to go through a few of the ways that you can solve this problem, and I will highlight the one solution that I find to be the best and the least invasive and the least labor intensive. So we have our neck here. Let's go ahead and grab my little list of solutions, and we'll go through some of these. Sometimes if your ski jump is fairly minimal, you can get away with raising your bridge a little bit, maybe adjusting your truss rod, and try to get it to lay well enough to still remain a playable instrument, to have good action, and to mitigate the ski jump problem. Now, what's going to happen if you just use adjustments? More than likely your action is going to end up too high, or you're going to find that your truss rod is just not going to have enough adjustability within it to try to lay the neck back to counterbalance what's going on with the ski jump problem itself. I have found in very rare instances that just making some adjustments results in a highly playable guitar that also does not have the ski jump rattle. So you can try adjustments first, and I would advise it if the ski jump is minimal, which you would use, I'll use this wood block since it is perfectly straight on this side. If you have a straight edge and you can kind of gauge how bad the ski jump is, if it is fairly minimal, maybe you can get away with just adjusting the neck and the bridge. But that's highly unlikely. Which leads me to the preferred solution. The preferred solution, in my mind, is that when you discover your ski jump, and if you have a lot of fret left on your guitar overall, and especially down in the lower portion of your neck, what you can do is, it's called ramping. And what you would do at that point is you would isolate, okay, where is the ski jump, and you would probably want to start your ramping process somewhere after the 12th fret. Probably around the 14th, maybe further down if the ski jump isn't so bad. And ramping, quite simply, is when you would take a piece of tape, and I'm taping off here around the 14th fret, and what I did there is I've created a surface that's a little bit higher than the fret itself by putting tape on it. What I would do next is I would put a second piece of tape over that, and I would begin the ramping process, which is quite simply this. You would put sandpaper on your sanding block or on your leveling beam at about the 3/4 mark or so, right about there. And then you'll keep this part of your leveling beam or your radius block on the tape, and you work back and forth like that, and this is slightly elevated by the tape, and then your sandpaper's making contact with the frets down here, and you gradually work those frets down until you can take your full length straight edge and check and see how your ramp is doing. And you take down those frets until you eliminate the ramp. Now, this can result in some awfully flat frets down on this part of the neck. Like your last 3 or 4 frets could end up being flattened out quite a bit. On an acoustic guitar, unless it's a cutaway acoustic, you're not going to be playing up there anyway. And mostly you're going to see the ski jump and use the ramp solution on an acoustic guitar. Since you're not going to be playing in that area, like on both of my old Gibson LGOs, I've done the ramp procedure and I have flattened out those last few frets pretty significantly, but then I go through, I crown them as best I can, sand and polish. So basically what you're doing is you're doing a fret level procedure. You're going to end up sanding them down, you're going to end up recrowning them, and you're going to polish them and finish them off. But the key is to have at least 2 layers of tape there and no sandpaper on the part that you're keeping on the tape as you're sanding, to just slowly work that ramp in. And you want to take your time because you don't want to remove more fret material than necessary. So that is the ramping process. Quite simply, you're sloping those frets this direction to counteract the ski jump that is going up. You're leveling the frets down the opposite direction. It's a pretty straightforward procedure, and if you are comfortable with fret leveling and subsequently crowning and polishing your frets, ramping should be no big deal. If ramping is your first procedure, it's a great introduction into fret leveling, crowning, and polishing. And I do have a video about that, which I will link in the description below so that you can check that part out. All right, so let's say you've got your ski jump, you've tried the adjustment, no go. You look at the ramping potential and you're like, wow, this is actually, it's too bad. Sometimes there are problems that are too severe to be fixed by just ramping the frets, because you would end up actually going into the fretboard itself to get, your mitigation for the ski jump. So, worst case scenarios, and they are pretty bad. They are still within the realm of doing yourself, but they are way more labor intensive. What you can do, and this would be the first preferred extreme method, is that you just have to pull all the frets and you have to re-sand the entire fretboard. So what you would be doing is you would be sanding, you would remove all the frets from your fretboard, and then you would be sanding this down so that the entire neck is perfectly flat and ready for some fresh frets. If the guitar has badly worn frets, or if there's not much life left in them, the ramping probably won't work and you are going to be stuck with sanding the entirety of the neck down to get it all dead flat and then installing new frets. That would be worst case scenario number 1. The absolute worst case scenario is our number 2 example repair, which would be you have to actually steam off the entire fretboard and flatten the neck itself, re-glue the fretboard back on, and then go from there. Depending on what all you have to do, I mean, that would involve doing the refret as well, probably, and sanding down the fingerboard as well. This would be if the neck angle is just completely jacked and there is no better solution than actually removing the fretboard. And then you take that one step forward, and that's where you hit neck resetting the neck completely to get the angle correct. And sometimes that is what a vintage acoustic guitar needs. In some cases, it is also what an electric guitar needs, depending on its age, make, and its spec. So, but the thing to focus on, or the takeaway from this video, should be that ramping the frets is probably going to be more than likely adequate to fix a ski jump on your guitar. It is not a procedure that you should be frightened of. You're merely leveling the frets away from, from below, the 12th fret. You're just simply taking them down in that direction to mitigate that ski jump, which goes that direction. And it's not a hard thing to do, and it's a good fix that most anybody can do if they have the right tools. And like I said, as far as the tools for fret leveling, crowning, and polishing, I will have my video on that linked below. All right, well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have watched to this point, I would really appreciate a subscribe. Likes and shares are also greatly appreciated. And please, in the comments section, any experience with ski jumps? Do you have a different set of solutions? Have you tried any of the fixes that I've described in this video? If you have, please share your experiences. And I look forward to seeing you next time with more content. You take care.